This is a study of the relationship between introductory calculus students' understanding of function and their understanding of limit in a context-based collaborative learning environment. Now, as part of the accountancy curriculum in the University of St. La Salle Bacolod, this includes mathematical analysis, or what we call calculus, which is one of the subject requirements of all the accounting students, wherein they must take this in the first semester during their sophomore year. Now, according to the Commission on Higher Education, it is mandated that the accountancy program must include mathematical analysis and must be taught, which must contain applications to business and accountancy. Now, this subject would provide the students with an understanding of calculus as it applies to business, economics, and accountancy. Now, usually, the or calculus is taught in a traditional method where ideas and input are done by the professor, and the students simply absorb what is thrown to them. Now, in this study, the method of teaching will make use of contextualized problems related to the accountancy practice. Here, learning activities will be done collaboratively to promote social interaction, which will lead to shared construction and understanding of knowledge. After that, students' level of understanding of function and limit will be determined after the collaborative work and oral interviews are to be done. Now, the main objective of the study is to investigate relationship between students' mental constructions of the concept of function and understanding of limit in a context-based collaborative learning environment. More specifically, this study aims to answer the following questions. What level of understanding of the function concept based on APOS theory were exhibited by sophomore accounting students in the implementation of a context-based collaborative instructional module on functions? Number two, what levels of understanding of the limit of the function concept based on APOS theory were exhibited by sophomore accounting students in the implementation of a context-based collaborative instructional module on limits of a function? Now, is there a significant relationship between student scores on the pre-calculus concept assessment and limit understanding assessment? Now, this study may be significant to the following. Mathematics teachers, wherein this study will allow mathematics teachers to reflect on the effect of their teaching strategies on students on learning, especially on the concept of function and in their understanding of limit. Now, the instructional module is using or will be using constructivist approach, may guide teachers in designing their own modules and activities applicable to their own classes. Now, this study is also significant to curriculum developers, wherein it can provide information on the current trends in the teaching and learning of mathematics. And this information can be used to influence the kind of curriculum that will be designed for this subject and the quality of instruction that may be expected of mathematics teachers. This study is also significant to school administrators, wherein they may develop programs or professionals development programs may be designed by administrators to prepare their facilitators or teachers for the implementation of a curriculum that employs constructivist principles. And this study is also significant to other researchers, wherein they may be enlightened, or this study may enlighten researchers involved in the teaching and learning of mathematics and influence them in further studying the effect of instructional strategies on students' thinking process. Now, what are the different or what will be the scope and limitation of this study? Now, this study will focus on second year accounting students of the University of St. La Salle taking mathematical analysis for the first semester for the academic year 2015-2016. Now, there will be 4 sections of BS accountancy students in the university, and the topics to be included in this study would be the concept of functions and limits. Now, the teaching module to be covered will include topics on relation, definition of functions, graphs of functions, interpretation of graphs, and operations and functions. For the limit concept, this will include definition of a limit, indeterminate forms, limits involving infinity and one-sided limits, and also continuity of functions. Now, the constructivist teaching approach will make use of context-based problems that will involve one or more topics at a time. Now, what are expected of the students would be they will work on problems collaboratively or in groups, and problems will be presented in a context related to the accounting profession. Now, there are a lot of studies related to, or there are a lot of literature related to the study to be conducted, and the the non-traditional methods of instruction do affect the kind of learning that takes place in the classroom, as well as the kind of understanding students formulate of the learned concepts. It is also noteworthy that a collaborative learning strategy was used by one of the studies, wherein its findings would include that social interaction among students working in groups may affect better content learning than the traditional method. Now, going back to studies that are related to, or literature related to this study, is that Guzon conducted a similar study in investigating the freshman nursing students' level of understanding of the function concept prior to and after the implementation of a context-based collaborative instructional module using the APOS theory of learning as the basis for the analysis. Now, in her study, or in Gozon's study, the freshman nursing students had initial background of the function concept and the topics related to it, but showed a minimal level of understanding of the concept before instruction took place, wherein their definition of a function was limited only to an idea of relation or correspondence, and there is no reference to a restriction or a special property. Now, a similar study was also conducted by Jensen, entitled A Study of the Relationship Between Introductory Calculus Students' Understanding of Function and their understanding of limit, which is similar to the present, or to this proposed study. However, this study will include the APOS theory, which is used in analyzing mathematical learning, in which an individual's mental constructions of a concept will be classified into four kinds, namely A for actions, P for processes, O for objects, and S for schemas. Now here, an action is a transformation of objects perceived by the individual as essentially external and as an acquiring step-by-step instructions on how to perform the operation, as what Dubinsky had coined. Now, a process is a perception on which the individual has interiorized the actions and no longer requires explication. Now, the theoretical analysis would involve, or relating it to to the theoretical concept, or to the theoretical and conceptual framework of the study. The student's level of function concept will be presented by the use of the APOS theory, and after the implementation of the collaborative work among students, their pre-calculus concept will be measured, or their understanding of pre-calculus concept will be done by the assessment to be given afterwards. Similarly, the student's level of limit of the function concept will also be measured by the use, or will be implemented by the use of the APOS theory, and an assessment known as student's limit understanding assessment will also be provided right after the implementation of the context-based collaborative learning of the limit of the function concept of the students. Now, with regards to their PCA, or what we call the pre-calculus concept assessment, and the LUA, or the limit understanding assessment, the relationship between the two will be determined if it will be significant or not. Now, going back to what Jensen had conducted, wherein his study aimed to measure the strength of the correlation between understanding of function and understanding of limit, wherein the two tests, the PCA, to measure function understanding, and the LUA to measure limit understanding, were administered to students in all sections of the introductory calculus course in a university in the West. Now, the result was there was a strong positive linear correlation between the pre-calculus concept assessment and the limit understanding assessment scores, and this correlation was found to be highly significant. Now, based on these results, Jensen concluded that understanding of function is a significant predictor of future understanding of limit. Hence, in this study, students' pre-calculus concept and students' limit understanding will be correlated, or we would want to determine if the relationship would be significant or not. That is by the use of, or after the implementation of the APOS theory involving their level of function concept and their level of limit of the function concept. Right now, the corresponding research hypothesis would be there is no significant relationship between students' scores on the pre-calculus concept assessment and limit understanding assessment, and the corresponding alternative hypothesis would be there is a significant relationship between student scores on the pre-calculus concept assessment and limit understanding assessment. Now, what is the research design for this study? This study will make use of a phenomenographic research design utilizing what we call trace analysis. Now, its aim is to describe and analyze at the same time the mental constructions of students based on Dubinsky's APOS theory of learning in the implementation of a context-based collaborative instructional module on function and limits. Now, here, changes in their mental constitutions will be identified and analyzed. And this concept trace analysis of students' mental constructions of the function concept will lead to an identification of the student's level of attainment at the end of the context-based collaborative instruction. Now, the basic objective of this study is to ascertain, using quantitative methods, the strength of the relationship between understanding of the function concept and the understanding of the limit concept. However, this study does not allow for the possibility of decisively proving or discrediting a cause and effect relationship between the two levels of understanding. Now, what will be the sample for this study? Well, this study will be conducted in the College of Business and Accountancy of the University of St. La Salle Bacolod, and there will be 4 sections taking BS Accountancy, wherein each section is composed of 40 students or less in each class for the first semester academic year 2015 to 2016. Now, what will be the instruments used or to be used in this study? So, first we have what we call the context-based collaborative instructional module, wherein this module is for the teaching of functions, which is consisted of learning activities which will involve or that involved context-based problems and will be collaboratively discussed with the students. Now, the conduct of this module will involve 5 1.5-hour sessions of the pre-calculus topics and another 5 1.5-hour sessions for the limit concept. Now, the students are expected to work collaboratively in groups of 4 members during the activity. Now, at the end of the group activity, the selected groups will be asked to present their answers to the questions, the problems, to ensure that all concepts are understood. Now, to contextualize activities in the instructional module for the accountancy profession, the problems involved in this module are based or will be formulated based from a calculus textbook, and the problems will be constructed by the researcher to suit the purpose of drawing out students' different levels of understanding of the concept. Now, some of the problems were also taken from the Calculus 7, which is a textbook by Lighthold, and Single Variable Calculus or Early Transcendentals by Stewart. So the second instrument to measure the pre-calculus concept of the students is what we call as the PCA, or the pre-calculus concept assessment. Now, this was originally created to measure students' understanding of pre-calculus concepts by researchers at the Arizona State University, which was spearheaded by Carlson. Now, this is composed of 25 multiple choice question items in 2-dimensional, where in the first dimension would concern students' reasoning abilities, while the second would involve students' understanding of function. However, the PCA is not or was not originally designed for the same purpose as the research or the study's purpose. So this will be attempted to interpret the PCA post hoc solely in terms of understanding of function. The third instrument, or what is referred to as the Limit Understanding Assessment, or LUA, is designed by Jensen, wherein this uses introductory calculus, or this used introductory calculus textbook problems as models for the questions of the test. This was done to help ensure content validity of the instrument. Now, each of the textbooks from which the model problems were taken were published not earlier than 1981, and each was a standard traditional introductory calculus textbook. Now, what proper intervention or treatments will be involved? Now, the 40 students in each section will be grouped into 3 levels, known as the upper 20%, called the high group, the middle 60% called the middle group, and the lower, which is composed of 20%, called the low group. Now, based from their performance in the first term, a class standing results in the subject. The class standing for the first term includes all graded requirements, which does not include the term examination. Now, how will the data collection be done? So first things first, a letter of permission to conduct the study will be sent to the Dean of the College of Business and Accountancy with the endorsement of the Mathematics Department Chair. And the study of calculus will be done in accordance, or it must be in line with the syllabus of mathematical analysis, and will follow the allotted time frame for the topic. Now, in order to identify each group's level of understanding for each question in the collaborative activities, a rubric will be constructed, which is similar to Table 1. This is an example for the pre-calculus activities or questions. Now, the desired level required for the group, basing on the APOS theory, to provide the correct answer to each question is identified to be in italic bold. So for this example, for this table, or for this rubric, the desired level required for the group is the process level. Meaning to say, for question number 1, the students or the group must be able to map from one set to another set, or the input, process, output definition, and any other correct definition with function restriction indicated. A similar table or a similar rubric will also be used for limit concept activities or questions, where in this case, for question number 1, the level or the desired level would be action, wherein, for example, the students or the group must be able to graph the function of having correct domain and range as reflected in the graph. So each questions in the activities will make use of the following rubric, analyzing how each of the group would have achieved that level in the APOS theory of learning. So there goes the end of the presentation. Thank you.